Good morning, and welcome to Who Am I? Glad to be with you this morning. So glad to have you as whoever you are as my audience. I don't know who you are, and you don't need to tell me, because I'm pretty sure I must know you, because I haven't given my link to, unless they're giving it to people that I don't know. I don't know. I'm very grateful to have you in my life, though, whoever you are. You help get me out of bed. You make me honest. You put an ear to the other side of whatever the hell it is that I'm doing. And in any case, here it is, Sunday morning, May the 26th. And I'm getting ready to do it again. It's a little bit later than usual. You can hear the doves cooing in the background. It's because I've waited until after light. It's almost 20 minutes after 6. But here I am. I'm going to need to learn to do this a little bit later if I ever want to have a guest in this show, in the studio. In any case, I thought about this morning. What the heck am I doing? How do I come into this space every day and talk about the same thing and do it differently somehow? Every day I want to keep hammering at this, because we need to have more ground for discussion about this topic, because it is going to save us. Our better, clearer, more honest, detached even. I know that some people object to the detached part of it, but a perspective on this, a clearer understanding of the physicality of what we're looking at, the physicality of this spiritual universe, or the spirituality of this physical universe, however you want to talk about this. And the idea that we have been had as humanity, so I'm talking all 8 billion of us, for the most part, with very few exceptions. So it feels like an overwhelming momentum that is hard to even wrap your head around. If you're looking at it in reality, if you're focusing on the condition of this, it seems absolutely hopeless. From my position, how am I going to change anything in this vast landscape of reality that I see? For over 100 years, we have been told wrong things about energy. I believe this with all of my heart. Now, why would I even say I believe this? Why don't I just go jump right in and tell you all the things that I know? Well, first of all, in this show and every single day for the last, whatever, I may add things to my list as time goes by, but I likely will not remove things from this list. I don't know how hard it is really to see from your side, so someday I need somebody to tell me what it looks like from their side. But here's my list of all of the different things that I put up a link to in the description of this video. So go find the description of this video, and all these links are there. And if you can't link on them directly, copy them and paste them. We have The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. This is a documentary series about the last centuries. It's about over-unity devices. It's about devices that could have been incrementally getting us off of fossil fuels this whole time. We didn't have to hook up with fossil fuels and then glom onto it the way we have, and then clamp onto it's the word, not glom, and then never ever let it go. We could have incrementally, with 1,000 good ideas, done this way and that way and here and there, we could have gotten off of fossil fuels. Or we could be mostly off of it with just a few applications that you really need fossil fuels because this other stuff doesn't work so well. That's even without an understanding of source energy, which of course, an understanding of source energy is going to get us to the big kahuna, the Holy Grail. When people think that the Holy Grail is cold fusion, it is not cold fusion. Cold fusion still implies centralized power and a centralized grid made with wires and structures and stuff holding it together so that the energy flows through the grid with the massive power structure that it controls and implies and creates. It creates this centralized power issue. So what's the answer? Diversified power. How do you get diversified power? You get it two ways. One is you allow for great ideas. And as a matter of fact, we should nationally call for a contest or just a call to for the best ideas. And why? What's the prize? Well, we put up some sort of a national prize for somebody, and maybe there is some prize paid for every single idea that works. Every single idea that produces more energy than it takes to run. Instead of having a contest like that, we have been taught that that's not possible. And it would be not possible if it was possible to create a closed system. But there is no such thing as a closed system. And actually, there are quite a few ideas. The different everything from there are devices that lock on to steady state frequencies, and just running on these frequencies produce power. There was one. It's in the Thrive 2 movie. It's not in this movie, The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It, which is a documentary. And this other one's a documentary too. This one is in the Thrive 2 movie. If you can find that one and watch that one, it's got a lot of interesting stuff. Now, they turn and very specifically start addressing certain negative things in the world that I would be a little softer about the reality of the negative things. Because you don't actually, only the love is real. The rest of it is kind of there, needs to be addressed, but not as exactly real. And you got to be careful about how you address the negative as though it's real, because you kind of lock it into the quantum field and you start recreating more of it as you gaze at it in reality. If you don't lock your vision onto it, it doesn't lock it into reality quite the same way. Certainly for your experience, but there is a relationship between your experience and the whole reality too. Even though you create your own reality, there still is a relationship between your universe and the universe we all share. So, where was I? Okay, the lost universe and how to create it. Oh, I mentioned this and I didn't finish it. In the Thrive 2 movie, there's a guy. He's from Africa. An African man, some West African country, I'm not sure what. He had invented a device, and he was getting a lot of grief on his side of it. His government trying to force him to give them the information about him. He's been thrown in jail, and in jail he made friends with a local celebrity rich guy who had gotten thrown in jail also. And when he got out of jail, he became this guy's not mentor, financier, and backed him while he developed this device which locks onto a frequency out in outer space somewhere. Hasn't failed him yet. It seems to be a steady state frequency. I think this is the guy. Anyway, he's got a device, looks about the size of a gas pump, what looks like the above ground aspect of a gas pump, and apparently runs like 300 houses. It's that much electricity. There's all kinds of ideas, jillions and jillions of good ideas that have been stolen from us. And then they pretend like we have a free market and a free press. And it's all, it's disingenuous, and it's a construct of a paradigm that we live in. And without questioning it, we're never going to get to the place where we break through the nonsense and the falseness that has been sold to us, probably literally sold to us, over the last century. We can get away from all of this. We can get back to a paradigm that is more the natural abundance that is natural. So where are we in the discussion? What's the name of the show? Who Am I is the name of the show. And the reference is source energy. And the honest and humble intention for the whole space is non-resistant thought, pushing back against nothing. We are not pushing back against anything. We are just talking about the world. We are just talking about the possibilities. We're skating in the conscious sphere. But we're talking about source energy, and we're doing it for two reasons. Because I believe, personally, my little self believes that our salvation, I'm air quoting, I should put my air quotes up. I don't ever do that. My air quotes, I do have air quotes. Actually, what I should do is I should go back to my starting picture, and I need to make sure that that other one doesn't turn up as the thumbnail that identifies, because I don't really want the links one to be the one that identifies me. I like these. I go find them on Pixabay. And then I just, I don't know if this one has any motion. I don't see any motion. It just looks like a picture. Usually there's some water rippling or some butterfly floating around. Anyway. Who am I? Who am I, and who am I in reference to source energy? And the reason that I do this is for two reasons, two practical reasons. The rest is just I enjoy the discussion. I enjoy being able to orate in this way, to be able to come in and connect these thoughts. I could see them in my imagination. I could see them when I closed my eyes. I could see these thoughts that connected to these ideas, connected these ideas to one another. But until I learned the ability to sit in a space and connect them orally, like out loud, not just, seeing the words go back and forth in my head, connecting these ideas. And I went, oh, this is very interesting. This appears to be the problem that humanity is having. And we need to talk about it at this level and let everyone find their own alignment. And then from their own alignment, everyone call their position. And that's how Source organizes us. That's how we get to the place where we really want to be. We can't call the shots or the moves for somebody else, because you are not standing in that position on the grid, hearing the echo of the call of Source from that position. You can't, it is not possible for us to ultimately find a sustainable paradigm of reality as human beings from a rote position, as in you write down the laws and the rules because it worked in some way before, in some manner something worked out when it fell this way before, so you write it all down as laws and rules and you cast it that way forevermore, and now other people have to interpret that through their minds and then cast it back out to the outside and decide whether what they're looking at equals that thing, and then decide whether you deserve punishment Or it doesn't work that way. We're not, that's the time of the law. We did that. We had to do that. We were people of the law, and we were proud of being people of the law. But it's time to shift. And in our science, and in our physics, and in our understandings, in our recognition of the nature, the material / spiritual, that spirit is actually just a different density of the same nature that is physicality. It's all the same thing. It's not two different things. And in all of this understanding, what? We used to be people of the law. We can't be people of the law anymore because the law is a by rote set of instructions from the outside, imposed from the outside. Why do we need this law? We need law because we don't know who we are, and individually we have not been taught how to plug each of us each one of our units plugs into source energy and plugs into source data stream and plugs into source information and plugs into source impulses. And when you do that, when you plug yourself into source energy, there's a really interesting thing that happens as you recognize the collective nature of the scheme. First of all, the field phenomenon, collective nature of the scheme, you realize, oh, we were so wrong to see this as win-lose, or, it's all about competition. He who competes the hardest and kills all of his enemies, that's the one who wins. No. The answer to the equation is he who cooperates with the most. He who finds the highest win-win position, because actually the setup is such that all of us can win. It doesn't feel like that when we look at what we have created, what we've got on the ground. It looks like you have to just really screw over your neighbor in order to get a little tiny scrap of that finite pie that appears to be shrinking. Not true. And what is the answer to all of this? The answer is to, I hope this doesn't have any sound to it because I did not mute the Big Moon Meadow microphone. Well, I think I tested it, though. It didn't sound like there was any background noise. So who am I, and what am I going to talk about this today? I have my set of slides. It kind of keeps me... I know that the slides are boring and everybody's seen them, but it kind of keeps me tight to a particular... confined, it keeps my there is so far afield I could go with the set of information that I have set aside as this show. Who am I in reference to source energy, and how does that relate to me as a human being, as an individual, as a species? All of that. I discuss our issues as I see them, and I see them in a big general way. I try not to dial very specifically into the very specific issues involved. You could, and if you find that you need to, because somebody around you is suffering and you've got to help them, just find a way to, when you go specific, my advice is always for you yourself to stay positive. Understand that the conditions of this world do not equal your existential worth, your existential It doesn't mean anything to you existentially. Existentially, your existence, in your existence, you are a positive being. You really are. Whether you are being negative all the time doesn't really matter. I'm just talking about who you are as a setup before you ever started operating your machinery. You know, like living your life, being in your HBV and banging around and trying to figure out where the gears are and how it works and how to get from where I am to where I want to be and how to make it fun and how to, all of that. How does my biotechnology work? Who am I? Who am I? That's the question, isn't it? And in reference to source energy, because we're trying to keep it whole, trying to keep it big, trying to not devolve into any kind of whatever. So if you don't corral this this topic field, it can get it can get to be too much to discuss in an hour and a half, which is the amount of time that I'm giving for this show. At first I had it at a 2-hour show, but then that was just a little too long. And now, give or take an hour and 40 minutes, sometimes it's a little less than an hour and a half, and sometimes it's a little more than an hour and a half, but in that amount of time, I want to talk about the issues that face humanity and who are we and what can we do to fix these things. Because we really can. We can. We can collectively operate on the creative notions, the understandings of the steps of creation. We can do this collectively in the same way that we do it individually. Well, what is this thing? So remember, the question is, who am I? And part of why I talk about this is to get us collectively off of fossil fuels. Because if we would get off of fossil fuels, then talking about our carbon footprint would just go away. Nobody would talk about that anymore because it doesn't even matter. There would be no carbon footprint. We wouldn't talk about, what to do with all this goddamn, eternal nuclear waste, We're probably going to need to inject it out into outer space, probably encased in big, except for, I don't know, as long as we're taking stuff to outer space on flammable rockets, perhaps you don't want to put the most dangerous stuff in something to send it off of the planet, in something that could explode and sprinkle it all back all over the Earth. I don't know. But I do know that all of our problems are fixable. And the abundance to fix everything and for everyone's pleasure and for everyone's life sustainment and for the sustainment of all of the rest of the threads of biology in the morphogenetic field of biology on planet Earth would all be better served. The abundance would return for all of us if we'd quit burning fossil fuels and get on better sources of energy. And the very first thing we need to do is believe that it's possible. We have been hoodwinked into even not thinking about it. Nothing to see here. Don't look that direction. And yet it's the biggest thing in everybody's lives. But nobody's looking at it because they either think it's not possible or they think that it's going to take minds that are way more technical or smarter than I am, more smarter than I am. But it's not true. There's 8 billion of us. There are plenty of smart people out there. There are plenty of engineer types that if they would be encouraged to understand that there is a way. So what are the steps of creation? Let's talk about this for just a second from an Abraham perspective. You are a vibrational being in a vibrational universe, that perspective. And you create your own reality, or at least to all intents and purposes, what it looks like to you is your very own reality. It is your own reality. Now, it does click in to the great 3D, 12D jigsaw puzzle, 12-dimensional jigsaw puzzle that is reality. It's probably more than 12. It's probably infinite dimensions if you think of those dimensions as the multiverse. I don't know. I don't want to get too far afield. So you're a vibrational being in a vibrational universe. And you were source energy before you came into this physical body, and the larger part of you still is just... Actually, those are Abraham's words, and I wouldn't exactly use those words, because your whole self is vibrational. All the way, the part that looks like matter is still vibrational. And then the part that doesn't look like matter, from your skin out, that doesn't even look like you, that's still you too. And the steps of creation go like this. Life causes you to ask. Ask for more. Ask for what you want. What would that be? Like when you're cold, you want to be warm. When you're hungry, you want to find food. When you're bored, you want to look around and find something interesting. Life causes you to ask for more, for better. Meanness causes you to want kindness. War causes you to recognize that you don't want war, you want peace. Loneliness causes you to realize that relationship is fun and that you want to share the physical burdens of this physical life with a physical partner. All of that, life causes you to ask. And this is with the tricky part. Your vibrational inner being, apparently you have an inner being. It's your oversoul, your broader perspective, your eternal aspect. Who you really are, actually, is who it is, because it's who you always are. The physical aspect of yourself that you might think of, ooh, this is me, that aspect of you is actually very temporary. That's very expirational. It's made of meat, have you noticed? And meat expires. But the larger part of you is your inner being, who is in touch with all things, who knows all of the physicality of everything around you. And how does it know it? Well, this is a crossover point for me. How it knows everything is that the universe is holographic, and through this cosmic jiggle of space-time, all of the information of all of the different morphogenetic fields, all of the information of all of the universe, everything that there is to know, where the particles are, which direction they're moving, how fast are they moving, what temperature are they, what are they moving with? Are they moving with enough other objects that, oh, that's a planet, look at that. That's a star. Or that's a clump of biology walking around on a planet, you know? Who am I? And how does all of this work? So step 1, life causes you to ask. Step 2, and this is the part that Abraham taught me, and I have input it in faith in the upper portions of my iOS, my internal operating system, and have felt the, data in, data out kind of sort of put it in at the top and sense what it feels like on the other side, and it's like, oh, that actually makes a lot of sense. And that fills in a lot of gaps, and you know what? That feels good. That answer, a lot of stuff is starting to move now. Oh, I understand the motion of the universe. I get this. Okay, I believe this. So I believe that this is true. Abraham has told me this, and it actually jives with a lot of other wisdoms. When I put it into the machinery, it tastes good. I like the way this one feels. And so this is it. When you ask, Source answers. Now, how does Source answer? It didn't answer in physicality. It answers in the implicate positive vibration. So you ask for whatever it is you've asked for. Source is now looking at what you've asked for, even though it doesn't exist in reality yet. It only exists in vibration. But your inner being, your broader perspective, your source aspect of you has marked what you want. what you prefer, what you love. That's what your source is looking at. That's why it's really important for you to get back in touch with your source, because you need to pay attention to what you asked for too. Because what might be happening to you is you asked for the more, but you can't get your eyes off of the less that you have. You know, you can't quit staring at the bank account that actually doesn't have the money, instead of looking at the vibration that you know is now in place, that is abundance, that is everything that you want. So how does this work? You are a binary being, and I have a set of words that you could use to demark the binariness. You are the form and the formless. But who you really are is the formless. And the form is what you become. And you are becoming. And that form is changing because that form cannot help but continue to change. It's one of the 5 rules. I got these from Bashar. The 5 things that you cannot change. It's part of the 1, 3, 5, 7, 11 download. The first one is you exist. There's nothing you can do to change that. The second one is everything is here and now. There is nothing you can do to change that. Like there's no past, no future. Everything is here and now. There's nothing you can do to change that. Number 3, the one is all and the all are one. There is nothing you can do to change that. What you put out is what you get back. There is nothing you can do to change that. That is part of the physics of the whole thing. You are offering a vibration. It's going out on a frequency, and the universe is coming back to you on the same frequency. You are that is what is available to you. And the 5th one, the one I was just referring to, everything changes. There is nothing you can do to change. Everything changes except the laws. There is nothing you can do to change that. And so what does that mean? What is... I take it all the way back to the Plancks. All the way back to the Plancks. But, so your binary system, your form and formless, or formless and form. You are your eternal self and your expirational self. You are the quantum field and your apparent physical body within the field. You are your macro. You are the micro. Your physical body is the micro. Your inner being is the macro. You are timeless. You are temporal. You are vibrational. You are conventional. You are all these things. You are the allness, and you are your you-ness. You are holographic, and we are holographic. And all of that matters, and all of that comes to bear when we want to address the large problems that I see that humanity is suffering from. One is he just cannot quit fighting wars with one another. Really terrible, mean wars where large groups of people are controlling other large groups of people, telling them where they can or cannot be and what. So there's that. I don't want to dial into a specific from a negative position. You really don't want to do that, because that's part of this. Let me show you this one. This is the time to change my slide to this one. Your 4 general states of being. This is your accelerator and your decelerator. You do not want to go into a specific from a negative position. We have to go into specifics all the time. You live a specific life from a specific position on the grid. Absolutely you do. You got to face that whether you want to be here or not. But you don't want to move into the specific from a negative position, because this represents where your starship, your being of light, which direction you're going. If you feel good, if you feel positive, then you are moving in the direction of that which you want to, which your oversoul understands who you are and where you're going and all of that. If you feel bad, then you are now moving in the opposite direction. So I would suggest that if you're feeling bad, don't make a lot of physical actions. Don't try to solve anything from that position. From that position, you only have one job. From that position, the job that you have is to find your way back to yourself. Because yourself is a positive being, and I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Mr. Negative himself. If you are Mr. Negative himself, then your problem is that you're not being yourself. You have totally lost touch with who you really are, and you're being something else. To the detriment of us all, by the way. You are allowing demons to drive your vehicle. You could say that. You are creating Shiva energy in the field. You could say that. You are contributing to the Wetiko energy. You could say that. It's all the same thing. So who am I and what am I supposed to be doing? Well, I didn't actually finish my thought. The steps of creation. As per Abraham, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's actually only 3 steps. Step 4 is getting good at step 3, and step 5 is being back in step 1 and not being mad at yourself about it because you understand the steps. Step 1, 2, 3. Step 1, you bang around in life and it causes you to understand, to declare, to prefer, to know who you are and to better understand what you prefer. You mark your preferences. This is what I love. This is who I am. Step 1, life causes you to ask for more. Step 2, source answers. Answers vibrationally. Answers in the implicate positive. Step 3, step 2 is not your work. Source is doing that. You do not have to worry about about step 2. Step 2 is covered. You ask, and you don't have to get on your knees and supplicate to ask. Just by suffering, you have asked. Just by being hungry, you ask. Just by being frightened, you ask. What you ask for is more security, more food, more abundance, more whatever. Source answers. Source always answers. But how has Source answered you? Instantaneously it happens. It happens as fast as when you take a picture. Both the negative and the positive are created in the exact same moment that picture is snapped. And the negative actually has all the information of the positive. But you got to go find the positive. This is how your mechanism is working. Your binary self, your two selves, your source energy aspect of yourself, and then your specific aspect of yourself. That if you're a fan of the show, this is what this slide represents to me. Your source energy, your source mind over here, open wide, not necessarily seeing the whole universe all the time, although the whole universe is available to you through this reverberation of the Planck field, exchanging all the information from the large to the small, and back to the large, and then back to the small, and happening every Planck for all eternity. That's how we're holographic. That's how your inner being aspect knows everything. But it's looking pretty much at your life. It's not looking at what's happening on the other side of the universe, although it has all of that information. It's looking at your life because it's you. It's you. Who are you? Who am I? You ask yourself, who am I? And how does this work? Well, step one, I ask. Life causes me to ask. I don't have to. My life caused me to ask, and I didn't even realize. Being married to an alcoholic full of emotional drama made me realize how deeply I value peace and space and sanctuary and uh, um, lack of drama. I am not a highly dramatic person. The drama that I want to see it recreationally from a far distance. I do not want to be flung headlong into the middle of it. Now, that isn't everybody. Some people love that. Do you think that somebody who has chosen to be an ER surgeon doesn't like drama? They must love the drama. They must thrive on that emotion, that action, that impulse, that whatever. I thrive personally on ponderous reflections. I have always lived my life in the manner of live a little, stop, and reflect a bit. Ponder that for a while. Now make some more steps forward. Now, you'd think that I would have been more careful about where I ended up with that sort of, methodical, cautious moving forward. But still, my inner being still led me to, being married to an alcoholic for a while, which was quite dramatic. He ended up dying quite young in a all of a sudden, out of the blue car accident. Took him out. So that drama then instantaneously ceased, but I had raised 2 young children in that nightmare landscape, that the drama every night, and the fighting, and the discord, and the fear from me, and the anger, and the confusion and frustration. And there was a lot of good. There was a lot of joy. There was a couple of years, full years, it was a little more than 2 years, I believe, where the drinking absolutely stopped. And he had hurt himself. He got electrocuted on the job and was able to stay home and just collect workman's comp for a couple of years. And he didn't drink, and he was so sweet and so close to home. And we had such a cozy little nest of goodness. But then he started drinking again. The girls weren't out of their theta or beta, or not beta, alpha, whatever their those brain states when you're still downloading information about the world. And so now I have on my hands, even though his drama left, there's still drama in my life, because I still need to help my children fully understand the kinds of things that I have come to understand about how the world unfolds and how you actually drive this binary being in vehicle that you've got. I call it the HBV. How do you drive it, and what does it consist of? Well, the HBV consists of the 2 aspects of your system: your overview mind and your specific physical mind. Both of those beings are separate autonomous beings. One is the inner being that Abraham speaks of all the time. It's also what a lot of religions talk about. They talk about it from all kinds of different directions. To some, it's the Holy Spirit. To some, it's the Holy Spirit, the Holy Ghost. Some, it's the very voice of God. They haven't been able to figure out how to delineate the impulses they're getting from their greater system in order to understand themselves. Who am I? Well, you are these 2 aspects. You are 2 minds. And both of these minds are vibrational. But one, you're never going to change your source mind's view. Your source mind knows who you are, knows what is, knows where all the atoms are, how they are moving, knows where all the protons are. Because of this now, some days I talk more about the Planck field and the holographic nature of the whole thing. But the fact that the Planck field of every one of your protons is reflecting all the information of all the other protons in all of the universe means that you don't have to go anywhere for your inner being to have access to all the information. So that's how you can believe it. That's how you know that that's how you can trust that your inner being really knows where everything is spinning. That's how it knows how you can rendezvous with what you want, because it's all it's like this infinitude. I was going to say multitude, but that isn't nearly big enough. It's an infinitude of spins coming off of the same origination of spin. And that's how your inner being also knows how to orchestrate. See, source energy can orchestrate all of this stuff in ways that human beings cannot. No matter how clever they are, and no matter how great of a system of law that they come up with, there is no system of law that is going to organize us the way source energy can organize us. And how do you do that? Well, get everybody to, in general, understand their system, and then get everybody, help all of us. Our job now becomes to help everyone align with their own guidance system, and then take your impulses from there. And I guarantee you that source energy will organize us all into an orchestration of beauteous, harmonious infinitude. I just made that up, that expression. But only source can find us the true win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win position. Because source is all of us. Source is every one of us. And so source doesn't want me to win over you. Source wants us both to win at the highest order of winning, which means our joyous co-creation of collective abundance, where I get what I want and you get what you want, and we all have fun doing it. Only source can organize us this way. The law can never organize us this way. And so I'm going to predict that if this American election, and then the coming years, how law and order sort of disintegrates, because it's such a travesty of disorder right now. And I'm saying that from my perspective of how far we are off from what I know we should be doing, which is soothing everyone into their individual alignment so that they can find their blessed way, instead of trying to beat and punish one another into some sort of order. It is exactly the silly, the old adage, and the beatings will continue until morale improves. And you laugh at that because you know that beatings are never going to improve morale. Well, that's exactly the same way with our criminal justice system, with our system of laws, with our system of this centralized power that has created this centralized empire. That the biggest thing about it is whose fingers are on the frickin' guns, because we have such firepower, such abilities. Our weapons are... Nobody should have their fingers on a collection of weapons like that. Much less someone, King Watiko, or doddering old, marionette toe the line, incrementally, teeny weeny little bits of incremental change will let a few of the students off the hook from their student loans. Other than that, we're not going to make any big changes. I'll tell you the big changes we need to make. It's simple and very clean and clear. We need to get off of fossil fuels and then just see where that takes us, because I think that that's going to take us. That's going to open up so many avenues of abundance that it's going to take 20 or 30 lifetimes of ours for us to get used to that and figure out where our technology is really going to go. Where is our technology really going to take us? First of all, I think it's going to green up the planet substantially right away. And it's going to allow lots of pods of individuals to spin off on their own, no longer connected to the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, and the necessity to capitalize, to commodify their nation's environment or whatever in order to tap into the supply chain of humanity. They won't have to do that anymore because they'll take their little devices and they have all the energy they need now. They don't have to buy fossil fuels, and so they don't have to get into the supply chain. That way they can go off with their little devices and just tap into the energy field or whatever, however they're doing it. Because there's lots of ways to create over-unity devices or to modify current engines so that they run on mostly water with a little bit of fuel. People have done that before. Or created completely different engines that could run on water. You can do that too. There's all kinds of ways to do it. And we have been sold a bill of goods, led to believe that these things are not possible, that it's only big, centralized ideas that are possible. All of these incremental ideas are just pie in the sky kind of crap. Not really possible. Well, it's possible. We have asked and Source has answered. Oh, let me get back to that. Steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Step 1, life causes you to ask. Step 2, Source answers. Step 3, this is your job. Get into the receiving mode. Get into a place where you are in a state of expectation, looking for the answer that you know is there somewhere. If you just short circuit yourself, oh, there is no answer. I guess we're just all gonna die. That's what's causing our angst. The fact that we short circuited ourselves. And now we're like, that's not how the vehicle is designed to run. Step 1, life causes you to ask. Step 2, Source answers. Step 3, line up with what your Source knows so that you can know what your Source knows. How do you do that? Well, let's go back to our design. We're looking at the picture right here. Source mind on the left, you on the right. Your Source mind is shining a big, bright, just imagine it this way. Your Source mind is shining a big, bright light on a whole field of interesting like all of this stuff is anything in here would just really light your bulbs. That's what your inner being is looking at what you love, looking at what you want, looking at where you're going. It knows everything that is, doesn't have to be looking at what is. It's not looking at what is, it's looking at what you love. Now the question is, what are you looking at? Are you staring transfixed at all of the things that frighten you? Can you not get your eyes off of all of the horrors around you that you would really love to change? If that's what you're doing, then you're misusing your equipment. You are looking in a place where your inner being is shining no light. And that's why you feel like you're in darkness and there's no light over here and you're frightened. Why am I frightened? Because you have gone somewhere that your inner being is not gone with you. Take your inner being everywhere you go. How do you do that? How would you know that? Well, first of all, care how you feel. Because how you feel is an indication of whether your inner being is with you or not. If you go someplace where your inner being isn't, it doesn't feel good. So go back to the last place that you remember where your inner being was. Find her again and don't leave. So how do you do this, really? So your inner being feels fine about everything. She knows that you are the quantum field, that nothing can hurt you ever, that you are an eternal expression of source energy who eternally, it's like your consciousness is the front row seat at the parade that never ends. You are the quantum field. You are becoming whatever you want. How are you becoming what you want? By what you put your attention to. Now, I'm not just talking about you as a human being. I'm talking about you as an anything. You as a biological being of any sort. How you are becoming what you are becoming is by virtue of what you are looking at. And what you are looking at and how you are feeling as you are looking that direction is where you are going. Now, the human design has an interesting addition to it. It is the addition of the way that human emotions go. Why do human emotions work the way human emotions work? Why do you have such a jacked sense of emotion? Because even though your emotions are essentially the same as... My maternal instincts are the same as the maternal instincts of any other mammal. You know, when my baby is lost, that feeling of emptiness or whatever, there is an aspect of it that is the same. But there is an aspect of it that's different with human beings. And why is that? So this brings me to my part, and so we're already almost an hour in, and I have not mentioned the fact that I believe that we have a genetic modification in our genetics. You can so the reason I think this is, so this is my little diagram of the human brain, the human mind, if you will. So this picture here that I was just on, this is sort of showing us the source mind and the physical mind from a vibrational point of view. And this one is dialing into the physical aspect of you, that specific side of you. The little tiny, tightly constricted aperture. That's this mind. Now, it turns out you have your lizard brain, your mammalian brain, and you can see, just look at this. I don't feel like going into some days I describe this in bigger detail. If you're a fan of the show, you see this every day. And you know that I put a lot of stock in this neocortex thing, which I believe was given to us through a genetic modification. But the interesting part about our neocortex, however we got it, it is producing the stronger emotions that human beings experience, because your neocortex is your overview mind. It's sort of the analogy to the source mind in a way. It's your overview mind. It's your ability to see past the hormonal knee-jerk reactions of the mammalian brain. You know, somebody threatened my baby and I react. Somebody threatens my territory and I react. I need to reproduce and I, react. Whatever. Your overview mind has the ability to see a broader perspective. That is why it is so important that your overview mind's thoughts resonate with what your true overmind really knows. And when it doesn't, you get negative emotion. That is exactly the reason why you get negative emotion. You take an overview thought that's small and mean and constricted and limiting and not true at all. Nothing at all like what your inner being knows to be true about your true situation, your true power, your true abilities, the freedom. When you feel not free and it feels so awful to think that you're not free. The reason that feels so bad is not because you think it's, oh, well, if I wasn't free, that really would feel bad, and that's why it feels bad to think that I am not free. That's not why it feels bad. It's because your inner being knows how free you are. And how many avenues you have. How many avenues you would even have if you were stuck in prison. Because prison is full of people and full of motion and full of desires and full of things going on, and your inner being is still there with you and still could guide you to your most satisfying. You could end up being in a position where you absolutely changed the hearts and minds of every person on death row. If you were Jesus and you were in prison, or Buddha, or whatever. But you are free. You're free to think whatever you want, and you are free to, let's don't get too esoteric. You are free. You are so free, you can choose bondage. That's not my words. That's Abraham says that one. You are so free, you can choose bondage. And you are actually so abundant, even if you don't have a freaking penny in the bank. If you could pick your eyes up off of the way you have translated your physicality and open up your mind, you would be shocked at the amount of well-being and abundance that is screaming at your door that you just can't see because of the very constricted way that you are insisting upon translating the situation. The abundance is really there, and it really is trying to get to you. And if you would allow it, all the things that you have ever asked for, Source is trying to get them to you. But you have to believe it, and you have to expect it, and you have to be watching for it, and not necessarily from one. So Bashar has a thing that he says about insistence upon a particular outcome being part of what keeps that from coming to you. Insistence equals resistance. Or I know what I was just looking at. It was the permission slip download. It's actually quite interesting. But if I can't find it quickly, then I'm not going to keep looking. Might be this one. Nope, I don't see it. Oh well. So why do I believe that the neocortex, why do I believe we've been genetically modified? First of all, this is why we have the emotions that we have. When you do not have one of these kinds of modified human emotions, you don't have one of these without a thought preceding. Because it's the relationship of your thoughts to your inner being thoughts that's causing that higher pitch of vibration, that enhanced emotional response that is uniquely human, that's coming from the relativity of your thoughts, your physical mind's thoughts, and what your inner being's thoughts are. Your broader perspective. Who you are, who you really are, is a positive being. And why do I think we've been genetically modified? Because 76% of the volume of the neocortex is coming from a very suspicious looking chromosome. Human chromosome number 2, a fused chromosome. And when you look at it, now these people, they studied this back in 1991. I do not know what the people who published this, what they did with it. And they could have done whatever it's their right, even if they had an agenda. But they published this to the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, and had any geneticist been able to disprove or discredit what they were saying, they had their chance, and they never did that. That's been over 30 years ago, been 33 years ago that this was published. And look at what it's saying. It's saying that this human chromosome number 2 is the relic of an ancient telomere to telomere fusion. Now, whether that fusion is accidental or on purpose, they're not saying. They're just saying that's what it is. It's a fusion. We don't know how it happened, but this is what it is. And we can tell by looking at it on both sides of the fusion point, we can tell that the 2 chromosomes that were being fused were ape chromosomes. They were a lesser being, a less evolved, not us. It was not us. But then now they're fused, and what is the result? Well, the exact wording. The relic of an ancient telomere to telomere fusion, and marks the point at which 2 ancestral ape chromosomes fused to give rise to human chromosome number 2. That is a very strong sentence. That is a very strong sentence. Now, I am not a geneticist. I would not be in any position to say whether or not this article is wrong. If I went in and studied the sequences of this chromosome on both sides of the telomere, you can see. Actually, I should go find a slide that shows this genetic material with the telomere in the middle, because I've seen it. I've also seen what looks more like an abstract representation of 2 genes fusing, which is different than the readout. The genetic readout, which geneticists analyzed and said, well, you know what this is this is 2 lesser chromosomes that were whole chromosomes. They've been fused together at the telomeres, which is totally unnatural. And then some things have been clipped away, too, by the way, to stabilize the fusion. I get that from, let's see, do I get that from here? No. This. We conclude that human chromosome number 2 is the relic of an ancient telomere. No. Modifications followed to stabilize the fusion. The modifications are the clipping away of redundancies on both sides of the fusion. That was what the modification was that stabilized the fusion. Now, maybe it happened accidentally. Maybe it happened naturally somehow. I don't know. I'm not a geneticist, but it's very fishy. And it's very interesting that what it happened to produce was the human neocortex and the overview mind and our emotional guidance system, which we possess that most people don't know how to run. They don't understand that their negative mind is not you. You are not a negative person, and I don't care how negative you're being. And if you are being a negative person in the face of being actually a positive person, no wonder you are so miserable. You will never outrun your positive self. You will be relentlessly positive until the end of your days. And if you, physical you, small you, insists on taking negative small thoughts about things, you will suffer for it for the rest of your life. You will, every time you do that, every time you choose to do that, you will get the corresponding non-resonant hit to the solar plexus that you will get when you take a negative stance in the face of your actual positive, natural positivity. The fact is, and this is the truth that my daughter and I started learning when we were right before COVID. Her and I had joined a course in miracles study group, a local study group. They met at the local community center on Wednesday nights or something. And her and I used to get together. Maybe it was Monday nights. I can't remember. It's been a long time. 5 years ago. And A Course in Miracles teaches you to understand that when you're gazing out at the world, looking at all of everything you're looking at, the truth of the matter is only the love is real. The rest of it, don't consider it real. It isn't real. People, they are love. And if you witness people being not love, that means that is some poor soul trapped somewhere, not understanding who they are, not being who they are, and contributing to the chaos and destruction and suffering in the world around us. And they need to be helped, and we need to be helped. If you saw somebody, this is Abraham's little thing, if you saw somebody, lying on the side of the road bleeding, we know that you would help them. But when you see somebody all balled up in their anger or their negative emotion or whatever, you want to slap them or something. You do not want to soothe them or be kind to them or help them in any way. That their activities do not inspire you to, but that is what they need. And that is what we need, and that it is to that service that I dedicate my show, to the greater understanding of who are we, and how does this work, and how do we get to a better place than where we are. I realize now that a long time ago I left in the road. I started to describe the woes of mankind, and I didn't get past war. I'm not sure if I mentioned sixth mass extinction. That one's always a good one. War, world poverty, childhood hunger, garbage island, too much carbon in the atmosphere, exacerbating a natural cyclical warming event. That's why there's so much confusion about whether it's natural global warming or whether it's human-caused global warming. It doesn't matter. Our burning of fossil fuels is exacerbating a naturally occurring cyclical problem that we would be challenged to deal with it if we weren't poisoning the planet at the same time with our freaking burning of fossil fuels. Which, by the way, I'm going to harp on that one forever because I believe that that's going to just change the game. The whole physical game is going to change when we get off of fossil fuels. And I don't want to talk about our problems from the level of where our problems are right now. How do we crack down on crime? Let's get tough on crime. There's always those candidates. Going into an election, there's always those, Well, I'm not a fan of crime either, but I do not believe that we're going to be able to solve our problems at the level of the problem. We are going to have to tackle our problems from a higher level, from a higher perspective, from a higher understanding of where our problems are coming from. Now, I do believe that we've been genetically modified. There's nothing I can do about that. That happened a long time ago, and we're just going to have to deal with that. And so, as far as I'm concerned, that's about where my contribution to that part of the discussion, where it ends. Because, I don't know how to figure out who they are. I'm not an archaeologist. I'm not an astronomer. I'm not, there's all kinds of things I'm not. I just think it's interesting that I think we've been genetically modified, and I think that it explains a lot about why we are so problematic on the planet. I also think that it's possible that our creators, the ones who did this to us, they are not gods and they're not, whatever, they're just extraterrestrials. We're looking at almost being able to do such things. Our CRISPR technology, our gene editing technology, it's getting to be the kind of thing where we can at least imagine being able to do what we can see has been done on human chromosome number 2. So it's possible that our creators are watching us and caring for us, that from a distance they consider us armed and dangerous, from what I understand. And I can imagine that it's going to be easy for them to figure out when we've got it, because our vibration here on the planet's going to settle down a lot. You know, right now we look really inflamed. They can see the wars raging. They can see the fires burning. They can hear the emotions screaming across the cosmos. They can feel our vibration, and it's very chaotic, I'm sure. And they can see the garbage. They can see the death. But they're going to be able to tell pretty quickly when we start soothing out, when our agitation starts calming itself, as we realize who we are and that we are completely capable of dealing with this situation. We can fix our problem. We can absolutely fix our problem on planet Earth, and I'll tell you how we do it. First of all, have a better general understanding of ourselves, and have more people have a better general understanding of themselves, and encourage those same said people who now have a better general understanding of themselves to line up with their source energy aspect. Quit following your negative mind. It's not real. It does not know what it's talking about. It is off in darkness without its broader perspective to guide it. What kind of ignorance is it kicking up over there? What kind of fear and destruction and chaos is it in service of over there? Get into alignment. Get into alignment. How can you tell if you're in alignment? Well, you feel good. You feel emotionally good, because I'm not just talking about pandering to your every sensual desire. I'm certainly not talking about that. I'm talking about your emotional angst and I'm talking about your emotions. I'm talking about your monkey mind. I'm talking about your thoughts. Where does your physical mind go in its physical thoughts? What is it doing? Is it in alignment with what's real? Or is it off on some weird negative fantasy, nowhere near its broader perspective? Which one? And you can tell where you are by how it feels. Don't believe your negative mind. Don't fall for it. It's trying to get you to believe that it would be unsafe for you to let go of your negative mind. But it's quite the contrary, quite the opposite. It is not safe for you to hold on to your negative mind. Only the love is real. Get into the habit of focusing on the love. Focus on love when you see it around you. Be grateful. Start noticing aspects of things if you're deeply into negative, you're going to have a hard time spotting any whole thing around you that you wholeheartedly believe is positive. You're going to have a hard time doing that if you are in a deep habit of negativity. So what you do is you start noticing aspects. Any aspect of anything that you notice that you like, take notice of it, try to milk it, try to keep your consciousness into the positive places. Start early in the morning. Meditating is a good idea. 15, 20 minutes of just keep your mind quiet. Because now the better idea would be to, take off with positive thoughts and just keep going. But most people, they can't do that. They have so much momentum going in negative thought. So much of their being is over there vested in the negative side. They don't have much to stand on in the positive place. So it's easier to get you to think nothing at all than it is to get you to think positive thoughts. But even thinking nothing at all is helpful, because your source mind has a momentum going on already. And so if you can just get the momentum of your physical mind just to shut up for a minute, get your negative mind to shut up for just a minute, there's actually a lot of benefit that you can start gleaning from that. What you're going to be trying to do is trying to get a positive momentum foothold going. No longer is your job in life to be objective. I like this, I don't like that, this is good, that's not good, I like da. Now your job is to focus on what you like and get a positive momentum going somewhere in a positive, something in alignment with what your inner being is interested in. Trust your inner being as you line up with it to take care of your safety. You do not have to keep your negative mind going back to a litany of all the threats that I have to make sure that I know where all the pedophiles are, and I have to know where all the axe murderers are so that I see you. I'm not going down that street because my physical mind has to know where all. You don't have to do that. Your source mind actually knows where everyone is, knows where all the dangers actually are. And if you would go with your source mind in its interest, in its happiness, in its fun, in its what it wants to do, if you would go with it and trust her, she will take care of your boundaries and your borders. And if you need to make a move because she feels that axe murder is coming down what she'll do, if she knows that the axe murder is coming down the street from the east, she will get you excited about a flower show to the west. So you're following your interest away from the axe murderer. You're not going to be following your threat. Like, oh, there's the threat. I see you threat, so I have to go this other direction. If you follow impulses like that, then you're not following clear impulses from source, and they're going to be all scrambled, and they're going to be chaotic, and you're going to be resonating with fearful places and angry places and dangerous. You do not want to resonate with your negative frequencies. You want to resonate with your positive ones, and trust and know that your inner being is going to lead you away from dangers through interest and eagerness and fun going that way, instead of being aware of the danger that's over here in this other direction. Do you see? Your inner being will never warn you. Your inner being doesn't work like that. Your inner being is going to lead you to interesting, fascinating, fun, abundant, clarity, comfort, interest. That's the kind of things your inner being is leading you. Your inner being knows who you are, knows what you want, because she is staring at what you want. What you want is what you love. You want experiences that reflect those values, those things that you love, those things that you want. And living this life, your job is, as you sort through your experiences, is to declare, this is who I am, this is what I love, this is what I want, this is where I'm going. And you do that by focusing on those things, not by focusing on the absence of those things or focusing on the opposite of those things. You don't make the world a better place by staring at all of the problems and screaming and crying about all the problems. You actually join the negative energy when you do that, in exactly the opposite of what you meant to do. So, where are we in the program? An hour and 23 minutes. Let's see, what have I neglected to mention today? Of all the things I always say. I didn't mention cymatic patterns, which is just the study of the relationship between vibration and form. Just in case you were a doubting Thomas and did not believe that we are living in a vibrational universe and that the vibration is enough to bring form into matter. Well, it is. I didn't also bring in the 5 kleshas, which I actually pulled this out of a Deepak Chopra book that I have. I used to buy extra copies of this and give these out like Bibles, like, you know, how Jehovah's Witnesses might give Bibles to people. The Book of Secrets. I thought it was really good. All these secrets about who we are and how, unity consciousness works, and how chapter 8, I love chapter 8, evil is not your enemy. Anyway, in that book I found this. The kleshas, these are considered to be the root causes of all suffering, come from us not knowing what's real. Us not knowing who we are is my emphasis on this one. Who am I? And how does my equipment work? And how does this divine matrix, this quantum field, this quantum soup that I am swimming in, this medium, how does it work? And how do I go about identifying what I want and then moving in the direction of what I want? And how do I get away from this experience that appears to be barreling down on us? This collective experience, this social collective experience that is in some ways really fun and interesting, and I see so much order and magnificence and so much of what we want. It's getting better and better and better, but there's this big albatross around our neck, and that is fossil fuels. We need to get away from them. We need to get away from them. We need to understand source energy, both in order to understand who we are and to understand better the collective field phenomenon that we are all a part of, this almighty oneness that we share with one another. And I think that about says the whole thing. And I notice that I am an hour and 26 minutes, coming up on an hour and 27 minutes. And I think that that's close enough to an hour and a half. I've had a wonderful time with you this morning. I hope you join me again tomorrow. You keep me going. Those looks and those likes, keep them coming. If you haven't liked an episode that you have watched, that you have liked, please go back and like it. It really jazzes me to see those little thumbs ups going on. I'm like, oh, somebody got it. Somebody got it. I love you. I love this world. We can do it, whatever it is we put our minds to, literally. And until tomorrow, when I hope to join you again, although tomorrow's another day and I have no idea what might be happening, I intend on coming back tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then the next day. And until then, as always, I love you. I bid you peace. I wish you well, and may the source be with you.